I'm Dan Monin, a senior basketball player for Piqua High School. Fish Report Live starts right now.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio, it's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Welcome, everyone, to another Fish Report Live. My name is Craig Fissinger. That there is Ken Francis. TK and Heavy D are back in our sound room. And, Ken, it's the holiday season. Christmas is about a week away. And I got one question for you. You got your shopping done yet?
Actually, Craig, I do got all my shopping done. And it's getting easier and easier every year, Craig, because there's an awesome store called Amazon.com. Just go over there, and you can get anything you want in 2 days.
That's a good idea. I should probably get started.
Yeah,
then.
it's about time to start if you haven't started yet, but there's no reason to rush it.
All right, well, listen, our Fish Report crew, our Fish Report family here, we like to get our holiday partying started a little early, and last week we actually got things going with the annual Fish Report Live Christmas party, and guys, you want to roll that video? Got a few pictures here of all the fun, and looks like a bunch of characters there, Ken.
Absolutely. We had a lot of fun that night, Craig, and had the kids there and all, and it's just a good crew. We're one big family, aren't we?
The guys in the back, they were the sound room guys. They had a ball too, I think.
Yeah, we had a great time. Appreciate the Fissingers opening up their house to the Fish Report Live team. That's the longest I've stayed up in a long time. I think I didn't get to bed till about 11 o'clock.
All right, well, listen, guys, enough holiday talk. We'll talk more about the holidays here in a little bit. But we're going to talk some hoops tonight, Ken, and I know you and I are more accustomed to talking SCL, MAC, maybe a little CCC, but tonight we're going to talk some GWAC, aren't we?
Absolutely. We're going to step out the norm a little bit, Craig. There's just some great basketball played down in the Miami Valley in the GWAC. A lot of Division I and II schools, and particularly on the local side, Sidney, Piqua, Troy, along with powerhouses Trotwood, Wayne, Centerville, and it's a great league. 3 divisions there, and we're really excited to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, we're going to feature that Piqua-Sidney rivalry game coming up on Friday, and for the SCL fans out there, we are going to talk some SCL basketball. Got a guest, our old friend Big Dog, coming on a little bit later. Going to talk about that, but before we get to all that, Ken, just like we do every week, got to get to that weekly trivia question. What do you got for me tonight?
All right, Craig. Weekly trivia question is, since we're talking some GWAC, Craig, who was the last GWAC boys basketball team to win a state championship?
Okay.
Was it Sidney, Piqua, Trotwood, or never has a GWAC team won a state championship?
You had to throw that never in there, huh? Sidney, Piqua, Trotwood, or never? All right. Well, listen, I'm going to send that on Twitter just like I do every week. Hopefully some of the viewers out there can help me out. And
hopefully you get some help. And I'd recommend you listen to your Twitter followers because they're typically been right.
I did that last week, and they did help me out. So I'm putting it on the Fish Report Live page right now. Hopefully we'll get a little help. All right, Ken, well, let's get things started talking some GWAC. Like I said, don't know much about the GWAC, so we're going to give it a try here tonight. But I do know, again, about the big rivalry coming up on Friday, and rivalry games are always fun, aren't they?
Rivalry games are a lot of fun, Craig. You typically have 2 communities rather close together geographically, and it's just a lot of fun. A lot of times the parents know each other, the kids know each other, and but when you get it out there on the basketball court, both teams really get after it. We had a perfect example of that last night when the Russia Raiders went over to Fort Loramie and played, and it'll be no different this Friday night when the Piqua Indians travel to Sidney for a big GWAC North game.
All right, well, to learn a little bit more about that rivalry and the GWAC, we did make a trip tonight, actually, to Garber Gymnasium over there in Piqua, talked to head coach over there, Heath Butler, and a few of his players, and we got the video there. We want to show you what they had to say. Fish Report Live here tonight at Piqua's Garber Gymnasium with Indians head coach Heath Butler. And coach, your team's off to a nice start. You're 3-1 overall right now, including Tuesday night's big win against Stebbins. You're 1-0 in the GWalk North, including Friday night's big win over Vandalia. How important was it to get that first win in the conference?
Very important. You know, after Trotwood, we think the conference is pretty evenly matched. On any given night, any team, Greenville, Troy, Sydney, Butler, and us, we're all going to beat each other at certain times. So to get off to 1-0 start is very crucial. And then we head to Sydney on Friday, which is going to be another GWalk North game. It's going to be on the road. Sydney's struggled, but they've played probably the 4 best teams in the GWalk. So they're probably looking at this game as like, this is a win, especially on a Friday night before Christmas break. You know, the gym's going to be loud. It's going to be a great environment to play a high school basketball game.
Well, speaking of that game against Sydney, kind of a rivalry game, does that game mean any more to your players and the fans than a regular conference game?
Right now, it doesn't mean any more to our players because we know in the conference it's another step that we have to take. But the kids know each other, and it'll mean more to the kids, 1, after we play, and 2, in the summer because a lot of them play AAU together. So it does have some bragging rights. But for us, you know, we prepare for Sydney just like we prepare for Vandalia. We'll prepare for Troy, Trotwood, and Greenville. But the kids do have some bragging rights in the summer.
A couple of teams you've beaten, like Vandalia last Friday, and also Walpock back in week 1, were teams that beat you last year. So what's different about your team this year compared to last?
I definitely think, you know, we take a look at our record, and there were 7 games last year where it went to overtime and we lost by 6 or less points. The experience of being in those tight games and kind of handle situations, you know, in each of those games that we've won, we've been down. But, you know, we've had great leadership as a team. We've come back from those deficits. In the Walpock game, we pulled away. In the Butler, we fought hard to the end. It was close all the way. In the Stebbins game, you know, it was back and forth. Stebbins took a lead. We got it back. You know, in the final 4 minutes, we kind of asserted ourselves a little bit more and ended up winning by 10 points. And
you've got a nice mix of some senior talent and some young talent also. Who's playing well for the Indians right now?
Well, obviously we start with our seniors. You know, Dan Monon's playing very well for us. He does a great job on the boards. Xavier Harrison, our point guard, he's done a good job of limiting his turnovers and kind of knowing when to take a shot and when to not. We had another senior, Connor Four, who hit 3 threes last night, so that was big, you know, especially on the road. You know, and Barry Lyons has done a great job in practice. And then Ryan Neal did a great job last night on Stebbins' best guy. So we always start with our seniors, and they've done a great job, you know, knowing the roles, fulfilling the roles. And like you said, we got a lot of young talent. You know, Vaughn and Hoover, our big kid in the middle, he's done a great job. Tate Honeycutt's done a good job handling the ball. You know, and then Colton Bachman, he's done a good job providing scoring and rebounding. And Storm Cook, the freshman's done a good job. Just kind of, you know, knowing how to fit in. He's done a great job. It's a big jump when you play 8th grade and going to the varsity, and even a bigger jump going into the GWalk.
We're here now with freshman Storm Cook. And Storm, we were just talking to your coach about you. Last year you were playing 8th grade basketball. What was the transition like going from junior high ball to the varsity level in such a short amount of time?
It's a lot faster, and I have a different role now in varsity. It's helped me. It's let me work harder, like not take no days off. I mean, we're getting better as a player, and it's going to make me just a complete player.
We're here now with Colton Bachman. Colton, you're just a sophomore, but you've got 2 years of varsity experience already. How are you different as a player from last year to this year?
Well, I've just been a lot more physical, got more physical over the summertime, play a little more ball during summer, and got a lot stronger since freshman year. We're here now with senior Dan Monon. And Dan, your team's already doing better at this point of the season than you were last year at this time. Coming into your senior season, what were your thoughts on this team?
We knew we had a good senior class and we had a lot of young talent, so we just wanted to all work together as a team and put the team first and get off to a good start for the year.
We also asked the seniors to compare this Friday's Sydney game to the rest of the conference games on their schedule.
Tough GWalk North game, like all GWalk North games are, but we're just looking to get a W and go 2-0 in the conference.
We're gonna go into it hoping to get a win. We're gonna play hard. We're gonna play as a team, and hopefully come out with the W.
All right, and you got Sydney coming up this Friday. Does that game mean any more to you than any other conference game?
No, I mean, we're just going to prepare for it like we do every game and hope to go up there and get the W.
All right, Ken, a lot of fun talking to those guys. And like I said, we don't know a lot about GWalk basketball, but I know one guy that does is a guy that's called a lot of the GWalk games, covered Piqua, covered Sydney, and that's Joe Neves. We're happy to have him live on the phone right now. Joe, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, listen, well, I know a lot of our listeners out there are familiar with your voice. They've heard you doing a lot of play-by-play for some local boys and girls games over the years. And I got to ask, how many games are you still calling these days?
Well, I'm working for PressProsMagazine.com, and we did a full slate of Troy football during the just concluded season, and going to kind of wait until the holidays are over, until basketball starts to shake out a little bit, and then we'll be doing pretty much a full schedule after the first of the year.
All right. Well, speaking of Press Pros Magazine, I saw an article you wrote on Piqua over the weekend, and I guess you're a talented writer as well.
Well, talented might be pushing it a little bit, but it's something that I'm starting to get into a little bit. It's a new challenge. You kind of look at the game differently from broadcast it to when you're writing it. It's a little bit different dynamic, and so far I'm enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun, and I kind of enjoy the interaction with the coaches after the game and the kids and that kind of thing. So far, so good.
Joe, hi. This is Ken Francis. Appreciate you taking time.
How you doing?
Good, Joe. Hey, we had a chance to talk to Piqua head coach Butler, a couple of his players, and from looking at this team, I don't think this is quite the Piqua team we've seen over the last several years. What's your feelings on Piqua this year?
Well, I tell you, I kind of feel that way too. I saw them play Vidalia Butler the other night, and they certainly didn't play a great basketball game, but they figured out a way to win, and that's something that they've not been able to do for quite a while. Usually, if they don't play well, they don't win, and they figured out a way down the stretch to get the job done. I think there's definitely some talent on this team, and it's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page for a full 4 quarters. Which they did not do the other night against Vidalia Butler. They got a nice road win on Tuesday against Stebbins, and I think this is an important game for them Friday night. If you can go up there and win, all of a sudden you're 4-1, and you start to believe a little bit that maybe things are going to be different this year.
Well, we're looking forward to taking on the Indians. Our Russia Raiders will be playing them in the opening round of the holiday tournament over there. So we had a chance to talk to Coach Butler and asked him about the rivalry between Piqua and Sidney. And, like any good coach and the players say, it's just another tough battle in the GWAC North. But from a media perspective, what's your feelings on this game?
Well, I tell you, the rivalry's changed a lot over the last decade, and basically because both programs have struggled. Certainly the Piqua program has been down for a long time. The Sidney program's only won 6 games in the last 2 years. So the dynamic of the rivalry has changed a little bit. Back in the mid to late 80s into the early 90s when Dave Zella was coaching at Piqua and John Wildermuth was sitting on the Sidney bench, it was the best rivalry in the area. I mean, it was one of those rivalries that you get the schedule and you look to see when Piqua and Sidney were going to play. And they played some really memorable games back in those years. The last 10, 12 years, Sidney's dominated the rivalry. In fact, before Piqua won last year, Sidney won 9 in a row against the Indians. So it's changed a little bit. I think it's still a very fierce rivalry. I think, both teams know each other very well. The kids play with and against each other during the summer and AAU and all that kind of stuff. So it's still very heated, just not quite on the talent level as it's been in the past.
All right. Hey, listen, Joe, we got one more question before we let you go. And I know you've called a lot of great games over the years. And Ken and I here, we're a couple Shelby County League guys. We've been to a lot of great games you've called. We listened to a lot of great games you called. Give us one memory maybe of a great game that you've called that maybe some of our viewers out there might remember.
Well, I don't think there's any question. And I had the great fortune to do Shelby County League basketball for 10 years. And definitely the highlight of my career without any question because you had a great game every night. But without any question, the big highlight for me was the 95 Jackson Center Girls State Championship team. We got to know those kids really well. We probably did 15 of their regular season games and then all their tournament games. So by the time they got to Columbus for the state finals, we felt like we were part of the community, and it was just a lot of fun to do that and be a part of that. They won their semifinal game on a last-second shot. They were 14 points behind in the championship game and came back and won in overtime. So that's a year that I won't ever forget, and I know the people in Jackson Center won't ever forget it either. But to go 28-0 and win the state championship, that was something really special.
All right, listen, Joe, hey, well, thanks for sharing that with us, and thanks for explaining that Piqua-Sidney rivalry with us a little bit, and thanks for joining us tonight on Fish Report Live.
Hey, anytime, guys. I enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, that was Joe Neves. And Ken, our connection was a little rough there, but Joe certainly got one of those voices. Kind of reminds me of Dave Ross. As soon as you hear it, you think basketball, don't you?
Absolutely. You hear the voice and you think Shelby County League basketball, you think GWalk basketball. But it was great to have him on our show, Craig. And, that's a great contact there. And, we'll have to get him back on again sometime.
All right. Well, speaking of that Piqua-Sydney game, I wanted to let the viewers out there know that the game is being played on Friday. However, our partners at NK Telco, they will be rebroadcasting that game that same night, Friday night at 11 p.m., also again on Saturday at 2 p.m. And speaking of NK Telco, I do want to go back to the sound room. Guys, I know the folks at NK Telco are doing a pretty cool thing at some area high schools this season, aren't they?
Yeah, it's part of their athletic appreciation days. They're encouraging all the students and the fans to wear an NK Telco t-shirt or make your own. And they're going to be keeping track of who's wearing the t-shirts. And at the end of the game, they're going to present each school with a Kindle Fire HD. And just kind of a show of NK Telco's appreciation for their 20 years of service and their commitment to sports broadcasting in the greater Shelby County area.
And TK, you got a few of them games that they're going to be covering.
Yeah, I do, Craig. They're starting off this Friday night at the Piqua Sydney game that we just talked about. So that's mainly for the Sydney home fans. Then they go off to the Botkins Minster game on Saturday the 20th, again for the Minster home fans. And then finally on Perry Lehman, that's a January 3rd game, and that is for the Lehman home fans. So show your love for NK Telco, and they might show some to you with a little Kindle when the game's all done.
Yeah, wear an NK Telco t-shirt and win the Kindle Fire HD. That's pretty cool stuff.
Tell you what, Craig, I've got a Kindle Fire. Those things are nice. I might go to one of them games myself and put a t-shirt on.
Get yourself a second one, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, well, listen, that's going to wrap it up for our first half of the show. We're going to take a short break here, but as we go into the break, again, it is the holiday season, so we got a little presentation for you for the Russia cheerleaders. Did a little performance last Friday at the Russia Anna game. Enjoy this, and we'll be right back.
My baby finally gave up on me. I can't say that I blame her. She just got tired of playing losing games. I should suck on my pride and beg that girl to come back home. Deep down I know she's better off, 'cause fools like me are meant to die alone. Someone give me one good reason, one good reason to smile. I'm trying to be that guy my mother prayed that I would be. Some days I feel like hitting the mark, some
All right, welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live, everyone. Ken, I was watching that performance by the Russia cheerleaders, and it looked like Santa lost his belt there. Maybe he needs to eat a few more cookies.
I think so. A little more cookies and milk for Santa would do him well, I believe, over the holidays.
All right, well, before the break, we were talking some GWalk basketball. I know the conference we're more familiar with is the SEL. Always enjoy talking about SEL basketball. We're heading into the holidays right now. It's still a little early, but things are starting to kind of shape up now. It's starting to see who some of the better teams are. And I know one guy that's definitely on top of the SEL basketball is our old friend Big Dog. I haven't had him on here all season, so would like to welcome Big Dog to the show tonight. Big Dog, welcome to Fish Report Live.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, listen, I know you've been on this show many times before, but first time this season, and Ken and I and the crew, we've expanded our viewership this season, so a lot of the viewers out there might not know you. Why don't you explain to everyone what you do in the world of sports?
Okay, I'm the Associate Sports Information Director at Wright State. I've been there now 21 years, and also in my free time, whatever little I have of that, I cover games for the Sydney Daily News. I've probably been doing that now about 15, 20 years now, and been covering a lot of high school basketball and football.
All right, well, listen, we're about a month right now into the SCL schedule, and I want to know what your early impressions are. First of all, I want to talk about the top team in the league right now, which is Houston. They're a team, Big Dog, that actually last year they finished 6th in the league with a league record of 4-8, and now they're on top of the league. How do you explain that?
I think the biggest thing for them is that they're just a year older. They have, I think, 8 or 9 seniors on this year's roster, and I've seen them play twice now, and they've had situations where a younger team might have wilted under the pressure, but they've taken care of it. They rallied to beat Anna a couple weeks ago on the road, and then last night Fairlawn gave them a fairly tough game, and Houston couldn't quite shake them until toward the end they started making their foul shots, and they pulled that one out as well.
Hi, Big Dog. This is Ken. Let's talk a minute about the Jackson Center Tigers. Last year they lost 4 starters from a very successful team. And this year, they're off to a pretty good start. They're 3-1 overall, 2-1 in the league. What's your take on the Jackson Center Tigers right now?
After that first game where they gave up 69 points at Houston, it looks like the defense has really started to come on now for Jackson Center. They gave up 54 when they beat Russia a couple weeks ago. And then the last 2 games, they've given up 37 at Riverside and then 35 at Botkins. So definitely the defense has turned it up. Scott Elker, obviously one of the top coaches in the area, and you knew it was just going to be a matter of time before things started to come together for them. It's probably just a case of the first game, you just don't know what to expect, and then you faced a veteran Houston team on the road, and since then they've started to go like everybody thought they would.
Let's talk a minute about the Russia Raiders. We talked a couple weeks ago. We thought they would be an improved team this year. They've got pretty good size. They've got quite a bit of depth there. And, they started off the year kind of up and down a little bit. They had a huge win last night at Fort Laramie. Give me your take on the Raiders.
Definitely, like you said before, they've really been up and down, just haven't really found a whole lot of consistency yet. The game against Anna that I covered last week, they only scored the 44 points. They really struggled to get any kind of offense going. They had just 1 3-pointer on the night, and the rest of the points came in the paint. And then Nolan had that cut around his eye there late in the first half, and it took a while for him to get going in the second half. He didn't really get going until the fourth quarter. And it's really been an up and down, but these last 2 games now, that they went to Bradford on Saturday night and won pretty easily, and then you turn right around on Tuesday and then win at Fort Laramie. Maybe this is a sign that Russia is starting to find that consistency that they've been looking for.
All right, well, listen, Big Dog, always enjoy your opinions on the SCL, and I want to ask you one more question before we let you go. Every time we bring you on this show, you always give us some kind of interesting statistic or something we didn't know, and I told you I was going to ask you this tonight, so why don't you leave us with something interesting to take with us here.
Okay, well, of the 23 games that the 7 teams in the SEL have combined to play so far this year, counting the non-conference games, out of those 23 games, 14 of them have been decided by 7 points or less, including 4 overtime games. 4 overtime games in basically 3 weeks is quite a few. So that just goes to show how the parity in the league has been so far, and I look for that to continue this year. But then on the other hand, there's been 5 games that have been decided by 36 points or more, and another one, or two actually, one by 28 and another one by 21. So you're either going to get a really close game when you go watch an SEL boys team play this season, or you're going to get a blowout.
I think we're going to get more of those closer games as the season goes on.
I agree.
I definitely think so too.
All right, well, listen, Big Dog, thanks for coming on the show. Always enjoy talking to you, and we look forward to seeing you in the gym sometime soon.
All right, that sounds great.
Thanks, Big Dog.
Thank you.
All right, that was our old friend Big Dog Ken. Always good to have him on the show. First time we've had him on this season.
Yes, it was. You know, the guy, like you said, he knows a lot about basketball, a lot about Shelby County League sports, and it's always fun to have him on the show and get a different perspective from a media guy and get his thoughts.
All right, we do want to touch on SCL girls here real quickly, too, before we head into the holidays, Ken. And for that, we'll head back to the sound room to our SCL girls experts back there, Heavy D and TK. Guys, last week we featured that Russia-Fort Laramie game. Really didn't turn into much of a game, but what are your thoughts on the past week in the SCL girls basketball?
Yeah, first off, Craig, I've known Big Dog since I've been 5 years old. I went to school with him. Actually went to college with him. Big Dog's been integral in sports in Shelby County, like he said, for the last 20 years, for the last 38 years. And just a real class act, and a pleasure to know Big Dog, and look forward to working with him again in the future. Carla Siegel that team has not let off since the state championship. Going into the Russia game last Thursday night, came out to a 10-0 lead. Strong, physical, fast, led by senior Darian Rose. And they've got 8 seniors returning letterman coming back for them, just hitting the shots, aggressive, physical, and way too much for the Lady Raiders on that night.
All right, and TK, any thoughts from you on the SCL in the past week?
Well, if we look at the rest of the league, I think we got some standings up there. As Daryl said, Laramie is the team, and I'm not sure anybody's going to touch them in the SCL, and they'll go pretty far in that tournament at the end of the year. But let's look at the other ones in there. We've got Anna and Russia 3-1. A big game tomorrow night, Russia and Houston. Houston 2-2 in the league, but 5-2 overall. Those 2 losses, one to Laramie, one to Anna. So some decent teams that they lost to. So it'll be a big game, and that'll probably be a separating point right there in that in the SCL girls side of the basketball this year. So a good game, and looking forward to that tomorrow night at Houston.
All right, great stuff, guys, and look forward to seeing how those standings shake out after we get through the holidays. And Ken, I know you had one note on MAC girls that you wanted to share tonight.
Absolutely. You know, it was New Knoxville's own Haley Horseman last night rolled in her 1,000th career point. Craig, she's had a stellar career over at New Knoxville, and congratulations to her and the New Knoxville Lady Rangers.
Yeah, she was actually a guest on our show last year.
Actually, she was. She was a guest on our show on Fish Report Live last season, and tremendous athlete over there, and she's had a phenomenal career, and always good to see somebody like that be successful.
All right, good stuff. And that's about going to wrap it up for us tonight, Ken. We do have one little thing to get to, though, and that is that trivia question you asked me at the beginning of the night. Give it to me again, and I'll check for answers on Twitter here.
All right, well, we were talking a little GWalk basketball this show, Craig, a little out of our comfort zone. But the question was, which GWalk team was the last boys basketball team to win a state championship? Is it Sydney, Piqua, Trotwood, or never has a GWalk team won a state basketball championship?
Well, like I said at the top of the show, I don't know a whole lot about GWalk, and I knew I was gonna have trouble answering this question tonight. I did go to Twitter here last week. I depended on my Twitter followers. Tonight, I have DA Alexander 40 telling me Trotwood, although if I remember correctly, Trotwood was a state runner-up a few years back. I don't remember them winning at all. So, and I'm pretty positive Sydney or Piqua never has won one, so I'm going to go with never.
Never is the correct answer. Good job,
all
Craig.
Right.
So good answer there. You're right. Back in 2006, the Rams of Trotwood Madison were the state runner-up. They've had some great teams down there in the past, and they've got a great team this year again. And but never has a GWalk team won a state championship, which is interesting because they've won several in other sports. They've won several in girls basketball, but never in boys.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight, Ken. Before we go, I do want to say special thanks to the Piqua Boys team for joining us on that interview. Also, thanks to Joe Neves and Big Dog for coming on the show tonight. Ken and I and the crew, we're going to take a couple weeks off over the holidays. We will be back on January 8th with a brand new show. So until then, everyone, happy holidays and good night.